Good Thursday morning, everyone. Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. We have an anomalously warm setup for temperatures across the eastern two-thirds of the United States with cooler temperatures out west. We'll dig into those details as well as your long-range forecast and your tropical weather forecast in today's video. Be sure, though, if you are not a new subscriber to the channel, to join the Weather on the Go family here as we detail the weather forecast as accurately as possible here across North America on this channel. Be sure to subscribe and also like the video as well by giving it a thumbs up down below before we get into the video. It definitely helps to get all of this information out to as many people as possible. So looking overall at the 500 millibar height anomaly, this basically just shows you where the high pressure and the low pressure is in the atmosphere. The reds and the oranges, that's where the high pressure is, and the blues and purples, those are where the low pressure is. And you can see we have a low pressure system up here across portions of the Pacific Northwest that's filtering in some cooler temperatures with more northwesterly flow up here across Washington State, Oregon, Idaho, and into Montana. And this is also up here into British Columbia and Alberta, Canada as well, seeing the effects of this trough and this low pressure system. But downstream from that, we have high pressure in eastern Canada and really across the eastern two-thirds of the United States for the most part. And that is promoting our warmer than normal temperatures. And by this weekend, on Saturday and Sunday, as we turn the script into early October here, it's going to be much of the same. We're going to have a trough out west here, digging down all the way into Southern California and even the Baja of California as well, with downstream ridging with high pressure across portions of the northern tier of the United States, eastern Canada, and even the eastern two-thirds of the country as well. So what does this general weather pattern look like? So late into the week here and into this weekend, we have much cooler temperatures favored out west just due to the fact that we have the trough out there, and that's bringing some unsettled weather, lots more cloud cover. So naturally, you will see cooler temperatures out west, especially across the Rockies and the West Coast. More of an active storm track in the yellow here from portions of New Mexico on up through the central and northern plains into the upper Midwest, rounding its way through the Great Lakes and into the Northeast here. That's where we have more of those active low pressure systems with some showers, some thunderstorms at times, and more milder conditions. Not really cool, not really too warm, but just kind of in between. In the red here, where we see warmer than normal temperatures for the most part, that's where the high pressure will really dominate. That's what we call an upper level ridge. And the airflow around that is actually clockwise. So we pick up all of that Gulf of Mexico moisture and throw it up and over top here of some of that warmth across portions of the Plain States, into the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and much of the Southeast. And that's why not only we feel warm, but we also feel very moist and humid as well as we step out the door. So let's track those high temperatures today. And you see much of these areas are drought stricken as well. So warmer temperatures are expected where we have the drier ground. Remember, dry ground heats up faster and really much faster as well. And you can see we're all the way up into the lower 90s into southern portions of Nebraska. We're into 96-degree territory there into portions of central Kansas. And we're also into the middle and upper 90s all the way down here to North Texas as well. So much of the central and southern plains in the mid-south will be feeling the effects of that high pressure ridge with temperatures in the 80s and 90s. Today, a little bit cooler up to the north, into portions of the upper Midwest and also into the Ohio Valley, where we have some influence of that storm track we're talking about, with some cloud cover, with some showers and storms in isolated spots, and that could hold temperatures down into the 60s in those areas. But if we see some sunshine, into the 70s. As we go into this weekend, the last day of September here on Saturday, we're going to spread that warmth and also that Gulf of Mexico humidity further to the north. So yes, into the Twin Cities, we're going to be to the lower 80s there on Saturday. We're going to be up to 89, pushing 90 degrees there in Des Moines, 91 in Omaha, and near 90 there in the Kansas City and St. Louis as well. So it's going to be very warm this weekend on Saturday, and much of the same as we go into Sunday, basically a carbon copy of your Saturday out there with the temperatures. And just to put this into perspective for you, here is the temperature anomaly from normal. So Wherever you see the blues out west here, the West Coast and the Western Rockies for the most part, that's where we're seeing those 20, even 25 degrees below normal temperatures from normal across those areas, especially into Oregon, Nevada, and California. And then to the east, yeah, we're up to around 20, 25, even 30 degrees above the norm for this time of year by the weekend here on Saturday and Sunday, especially centered across the northern plains near the Dakotas and the upper Midwest from Minnesota down through Iowa, northern Missouri, and into northern Illinois. So that is what we're seeing as we go into this weekend. And just looking beyond that into your long range forecast as we go into much of next week, into the first real full week of October here, that pattern is just not going to let up. We're going to see well above normal temperatures, very anomalously warm for the eastern two-thirds of the country, really along and east of the Rockies. And we're going to continue with the troughs and the low pressure out here across the Pacific Northwest and the West Coast, much of the western Rockies. That's where we're going to be seeing below normal temperatures favored, especially from Tuesday, October 3rd through Saturday, October 7th here during that period. And looking at the total rainfall accumulation, now through the weekend and into your Monday morning, we're not really seeing too much rainfall out there. Where you see some showers and thunderstorms, we could be seeing a quick inch of rain in some scattered locations from the lower Ohio Valley into the Tennessee Valley, and then maybe some precipitation down here into New Mexico and far west Texas. But other than that, besides Florida, we're just really not seeing a lot of rainfall this weekend, and that's due to that high pressure ridge hanging tough and bringing lots of that sunshine out there and sinking air, which means lots of sunshine and warmer temperatures all across the country here as we go in through the weekend. Looking at the total snowfall accumulation, yes, we're getting into that time of year where we have to talk about snowfall here. Some early season snows across the Rockies and the West Coast here, especially in those higher elevations, seeing a few to several inches there. And just zooming it in here to the Sierra Nevadas, I remember last winter we got absolutely crushed with snowfall here across portions of the Sierra Nevada mountains in California, and we are already seeing early snows in the very high elevations of the Sierra Nevada mountains through this weekend and into your Monday morning, at least up to around 6 inches in some of the highest of elevations there. And even as you go up into Nevada, Utah here, yeah, into higher elevations of western Colorado, we could be seeing inches and inches of snowfall there as we go through this weekend. And overall, just looking at the first week there in October, it's very active where we have the clash of air masses right in the middle there across the Great Plains. That's where we can expect those above normal precipitation makers with some rainfall in there, some wind, maybe some thunderstorms, even some severe weather setups are possible, especially where those temperature and air masses come together with the cooler air from the northwest with a cold front meeting up with the warm, moist, and unstable air from the Gulf of Mexico. And that's where we start to see more of those severe weather setups. But downstream from that, really right underneath that high pressure, we're not really going to see much rain. So the Northeast is going to be rather dry through the first week of October, and really much of the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast as well during that period going through Saturday, October 7th. And where we do see severe weather, it is possible that all modes of severe weather, especially in this yellow shaded color into early October, will be prevalent. This really takes us through October 10th time frame, and this could be as far north as the Twin Cities, maybe up here toward La Crosse, Wisconsin, southeastern South Dakota, and into Iowa and Nebraska there, and on southward there and toward the central and southern plains. Again, all modes of severe weather would be possible. Damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes should a stronger low pressure system develop and move across this region with the clash of the air masses out there. But then beyond that period, as we get towards that second weekend or second week really into October, things start to change a little bit more robustly across the United States here. We start to see more of the northwest flow open up out of Canada and into the eastern two-thirds of the country. And that's where we start to see more fall air. At least some of the ensemble guidance here from the American ensemble and the European ensemble members are starting to show this where we have a pattern flip flop. It's cool in the west now and warm in the east, but we're going to see a complete change, I think, in toward the middle of October where we start to see cooler temperatures out east and warmer temperatures across the west coast. And that really kind of makes itself known as we get toward the middle of that week on Wednesday, October 11th and beyond into the middle of October, like I mentioned, with those cooler temperatures near the east coast, the Ohio Valley, and back into the Great Plains there, with those warmer temperatures taking back over across the Rockies, the West Coast, and Western Canada. So that will be an interesting weather pattern to watch as we go toward the middle of October for sure. Now turning it over to the tropics, we are 2/3 of the way through hurricane season. Believe it or not, we are approaching October 1st here on next week, and we are seeing that where this blue arrow is, that is currently where we are with respects to the Atlantic hurricane season and climatology. We are starting to step down the ladder very slowly, but we still have a long season to go through November and even early December. We could be seeing some storms as well. So currently, yes, we are seeing tropical storm Felipe just to the east of the Leeward Islands. We're going to take a look at this right now here. You can see a very organized tropical storm continuing to maintain intensity here just to the east of the Leeward Islands. And as we go through this weekend, it's going to continue to maintain tropical storm force winds and tropical storm force characteristics here. Right now, maximum sustained winds at 50 miles per hour, movement is northwest at 8 miles per hour. It will slowly weaken to a depression as it approaches Puerto Rico or the northern Leeward Islands here, and it may just stay over the water to the north and east of Puerto Rico as well. That is still a possibility as we go into early next week, but nonetheless, let's track this here today. You can see this is just to the east of the Leeward Islands. But as we go through late this weekend, I think Saturday night into Sunday morning, this will begin to approach the northern Leeward Islands and even eastern Puerto Rico, with some of those outer bands producing some heavier rainfall at times and some gustier winds with some tropical storm force and those tropical depression type winds out there as well. Then as we go into the middle of next week, this storm may kind of curve back out to the North Atlantic and regain intensity just to the north and east of Puerto Rico. So that will be something to keep an eye on. The water temperatures out here are still very warm, and just looking at some of the ensemble tracks, it kind of boomerangs itself away from Puerto Rico and back out to sea is what a lot of the ensembles do see with this system as we go into the middle of next week. Then we have another system to talk about, and this name system could be Rhina as it moves into portions of the North Atlantic. This has a 90% chance of development, so rather likely as it pushes to the north and west. But another fish storm is possible with this, as it is to the east of the Leeward Islands this weekend as it starts to gather some intensity, and then it's basically just a waiting game on where exactly the center of that low pressure will be. It could be well out to sea here as a fish storm by the middle of next week, or it could be as close as Puerto Rico or the northern Leeward Islands, such as Felipe is right now. So we just don't know yet. We'll keep an eye on it as we go in toward the weekend and next weekend, keep you updated right here on Weather on the Go. And just looking at the ensemble guidance, just for fun here, the solid black line is the most likely scenario where that low pressure will go, and if it does take that track, it would be well to the north and east of the Leeward Islands and Puerto Rico. Even the southernmost track really doesn't touch the center of low pressure to Puerto Rico or the northern islands here, but the outer bands of rain would be affecting these areas, so we'll continue to watch this as we go through next week. And just looking at the hurricane season in general through October, it does look like we'll start to quiet down toward the middle and end of October for the main development region out here and into the western Atlantic at times, and we'll turn our focus to the western Caribbean and the southern Gulf into the Yucatan area for potentially some favorability of development. Not that it's likely, but it is becoming a little bit more concerning with some of the developments with the shear getting a little bit weaker, and we have those very warm sea surface temperatures still hanging on through the middle and end of October, so we'll wait and see on what happens there. If you guys haven't seen my winter forecast for 2023 and 24, make sure to hit the link for that video down below in the description of this one and go comment any questions, concerns that you have after you watch that video. Make sure to give it a like. I do appreciate that, as it was a lot of time to make that video for you guys for the winter. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching today's weather forecast. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Make sure to hit the subscribe button down below so you get detailed weather breakdowns and updates on this channel here. Make sure to give it a like with a thumbs up down below if you did like today's video, and also leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. I will get to those later on today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope everybody has a great rest of their Thursday out there.